welcome to another episode of Monster Dear Monster. We are joined today by Cameron and our guest Leonard. How are you guys doing today?
Not bad.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
Yeah, good morning to Leonard and really late night or super early morning to Cameron.
Yeah, it counts as morning.
All right, so this episode, it's part 2 of our Dark Souls coverage. We're still taking a look at Dark Souls 1, and we have us a bit of news here. The Dark Souls board game that went out on Kickstarter last year has started shipping, and so the fervor on the internet has been kicking back up. Did either of you guys back this game?
I didn't myself, mostly because I just didn't have money at the time, but I'm looking forward to the retail release in, I think it's late May?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I think the last big memo that was sent out from the Kickstarter already had a lot of the add-ons and the miniatures. They should be coming up on sale on their website as well. So that'll be nice.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I backed this, but I just did it the lowest tier. There's a lot of miniatures, a lot of stuff that comes in the box, but I wasn't prepared to throw down like $700 on the whole set.
Yeah, it was a bit expensive at the high tiers.
Yeah. But it looks pretty neat. A few of the guys, Patty Stardust has been kind of doing little previews on his Twitter. So the figures are a little bigger than I anticipated, which is a good thing. I was afraid they'd be super small.
Yeah, they also seem to have a nice level of detail on them that I appreciate as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've seen some of the close-up shots, even like the basic silver knights and hollows and stuff look pretty nicely detailed, and the bosses are really, really nice.
Yeah, I know at Revitar of We're Not Wizards was kind of tossing around ideas maybe for a podcast special on kind of covering the board game once everyone who's playing it has had a chance to play it. So that'll be neat. I think that's kind of it for to cover the board game. So Leonard, last time Matt and Cameron and myself each kind of talked about where we came into the Soul series and maybe kind of what brought us there in the first place. How'd that go for you?
Well, I first discovered the Soul series through Demon Souls, which I haven't played, but I used to frequent a number of gaming websites, and there were periodic articles about this crazy Japanese game, Demon Soul, and it talked about the online functionality of being invaded by somebody else. And I was like, oh, that's interesting and kind of cool. And as the Demon Souls wiki started to grow, I would periodically jump onto it and look at things, look at bosses. And I was like, oh, this is really kind of interesting, like freshish take on like dark fantasy. And I was like, man, I really wish I wanted to play anything other than this on a PS3 because maybe I would buy one, but that wasn't the case. And then Dark Souls was announced and it was multi-platform and I had 360 and I said, yes, I will be buying this because I just saw a trailer where there's a giant wolf with a greatsword in its mouth. And that's just silly enough for me to completely become invested in it.
Yeah, the first trailer for Dark Souls was pretty cool, and like you said, had Sif, and that drew a lot of people in, I'm sure.
And the Gaping Dragon, I'm also sure. That's still one of the strongest designs in the series.
Definitely. And I'm sure we'll get to that later.
So, Leonard, for the other games, which ones have you played?
I've played Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne.
So the whole run, other than Demon Souls.
Yes.
And of the lot, do you have a particular favorite?
Dark Souls 1 is still my favorite because it's my first Souls game. As a game that I would go back to repeatedly, it has to be Bloodborne. Bloodborne's just like a perfect storm of everything that I kind of love mixed with the gameplay of a Souls game, even though it's tweaked just a little faster. It's Souls, but it's also a character action game, and I love character action games, so Bloodborne is my go-to for a Souls game that I just can go back to endlessly.
Yeah, I mean, it has a very considered aesthetic, and I think that's probably the same for me. For the other Souls games, I came in at number 2, and just, I think because of that, that's still my favorite, even though I might like attributes or other things about the other games more. That just has that nostalgia factor. But yeah, Bloodborne's definitely up there, and I would not be opposed to something else in that vein, should FromSoft go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
All right, should we get into it then? Let's take a look at some of these monsters here. So I'll start us out, and my pick for this episode is the skeleton babies found in the Tomb of the Giants. These guys, wow! I did not expect this particular enemy. That's even after like the strange dissonance that the wheeled skeleton. Wow, just forgot their name. They caused, basically. You walk in and see like these, giant dog skeletons, and you go, where are they gonna go? Where are they gonna surprise me with next? Because that was just out of the blue, and they did. Little baby skeletons crawling out of the muck. I just did not know, didn't expect it. And I don't even think I tried to fight him. I think I just ran. I'm like, yeah, no. A continuation of our nope adventures.
Yeah.
So, Leonard, how'd you find the skeleton babies?
I actually didn't notice them the first time I entered that room because I was really concerned with the 3 pinwheels that were dancing around, shooting fireballs at me. And it wasn't until I went to attack them that I said, oh, look at these little baby skeletons. Just, that's cute and kind of sad. And then one of them hit me and started inflicting me with toxic. And I was like, oh, I have to get rid of you. I can't have you around. No.
Yeah, they are they're vicious little things. I ran away from them personally. I forget which weapon I was using when I first went in there, but I just couldn't hit them. The hitbox was too weird.
Yeah, I did. What were I using? I may have been using like one of the great swords or something, or club, something that had an overhead smash, so it was hitting them. I just preferred to run. On subsequent playthroughs, I did kind of try to clear them out a little bit. mostly because they were just disturbing, and I just didn't want to see them crawling around. But yeah, you talked about the multiple pinwheels in that arena, and I think I thought of them more of as a non-entity because pinwheel as a boss form was just such a cakewalk. I was like, oh, this is just a mob version. It's not even going to be any stronger. And then you get smacked in the back with a giant magic orb. And I think the bonfire run to Nito isn't particularly short, so that was more if I can clear out the enemies and not worry about it, or just kind of suicide run for that boss door.
Right.
I didn't really have much else to say about them other than disturbing, creepy babies. And so, Cameron, what's your enemy that you've decided to go with?
Well, if anyone listened to last week's episode, I'm pretty sure I lamented forgetting entirely about one of my most favorite enemies in Dark Souls 1, which is the Mushroom Parent. These guys are found in the Darkroot Garden and the Great Hollow, and it's basically a bloody big mushroom just wandering around with stubby little legs and stubby little arms. But the best thing about them is, if you just stand still and let them come to you, they will floor you with the biggest punch I've seen in a game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, those they became a meme, I think, for a while.
Yeah, they really did. There's a really great gif out there of someone doing the well, what is it gesture, and then just getting absolutely floored by one.
Yeah, how would you, Leonard, about the mushroom parents?
The mushroom parents, I first encountered them in Darkroot on my way over to Sif. But I actually encountered the children first, and I was like, oh, look at these little cute squeaking mushroom things just running around. And then I saw the parent, and I was like, oh, well, the little mushroom ones don't seem to be all that hostile. I'm gonna walk up to this one and see what's going on, and immediately get one shot with a mushroom parent punch.
Oh, that's too perfect. That's really good.
The mushroom parent punch. Perfect. Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I came into Darkroot on that area anyway, from the side path, when you go through like the giant howling cats, and not directly through Alvina. Is that Alvina?
Yes.
Yeah. So not through that path. So I think I ran into like the little children that are just kind of walking in the line, and I was like, "What? They're not hostile. What is going on?" And then you see like this little pond with two or three of the mushroom parents just chilling there, and there's an item in the middle. I don't think I ever got that item because I didn't want to get punched in the face.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that item is like the magic ember or the greater magic ember. It's one of the magic infusion embers. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I probably must have made a run for it or something because I think I had all the embers. But I know on the first time I was like, it's probably some souls or something I don't need. Even though it's guarded by two or three large, formidable foes. Like the most like not visibly threatening enemies in the game, other than they're huge.
Yeah, they have one single clue that they're dangerous, and that is if you look closely at them, they have bloodied fists.
I did not know that. The more you know. It was too dark. I didn't see. Yeah. Any I think we kind of covered those guys. Anything else? Any notable other features?
They are really dopey looking. Mushroom parents are really, really dopey looking. I think that also adds to that sense of they're not dangerous the first time because they just look simple and dull and dumb, and it isn't until they get up to you and give you that sock in the face that you realize that you actually have to take them seriously.
Yeah, definitely. They've got such short, stubby arms as well. You don't think they can even reach you. And then they just sort of stumble forwards and there you go.
All right, so we'll move on a little bit. Leonard, what's your pick?
I am going with the Ghosts of New Londo. I think almost everybody who's played Dark Souls 1 has the New Londo experience of finding the elevator down to New Londo, seeing all the passive, sad hollows making their way across that wooden bridge, and then encountering your first ghost, and you're like, oh, hey, this game has ghosts in it? I wouldn't have guessed. And swinging, missing, and then getting grabbed by that stretchy arm grab that they do, and then just having them repeatedly shank you until you're dead.
Yep, that was my experience exactly.
Yeah, I love the ghosts of New Londo because they are unlike anything else in the game. They're these sad, incorporeal, very feminine looking. They're very slight. They don't look dangerous, but they do so much damage. And because you can't attack them immediately, they become like this actually like really scary thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think speaking to that, there's a few weapons in the game that'll allow you to attack them, but otherwise you're relying on Transient Curse, which is like a limited item. So you're trying to run through the area, or at least make use of that item, and hoping it doesn't run out when you're like surrounded by 5 ghosts.
Right. Or you could always head to the depths and let a basilisk curse you, and then try to do New Londo with half health.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was able to avoid that particular fate somehow. But I did happen upon the, I want to say it's like the serrated knife that the ghosts, I don't know if they drop it or it's found in New Londo, but that weapon is one of the few that can hit them without needing to be cursed. Yeah, so I mean, that enemy itself, not only is it disparate from all the other ones, but they go through walls. They're not limited to like a 2D sort of plane. They have access to X and Y axis, Z, I guess, too. So they can just kind of come at you from wherever, and that makes that a little bit of a chore to get through the area.
Yeah, but they use it really, really well as well. You know, there'll be spots where you see an item just down a corridor, and you walk down the corridor, you look left and you look right, and there are no ghosts, and then you get grabbed from the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or they come out of the floor. I mean, it's great. No, I think that encounter design was done really well. So when you encountered this like the New Londo area, Leonard, what was your critical path coming out of the undead asylum?
I went so I land at Firelink Shrine. I talked to the crestfallen warrior. I hit the crestfallen warrior. I proceed to get killed by the crestfallen warrior 5 times. I restart my game. And then I get back to Firelink Shrine. I attempt to go into the graveyard. That's a no-go. And then I make my way to New Londo, find that that's a no-go. And then I eventually see the staircase up to the Undead Parish.
Yeah, I think I pretty much did the same thing. I think I missed the graveyard, and I want to say I got to Fire Link and I was like, oh, look, stairs. That's got to be the way to go, right? And I know on my first playthrough, I want to say I rolled with the master key, so I ended up not knowing that key just opened everything. I was like, oh, it's just a key, right? So I went to New Londo, and then I was like, this is not this is not right. Oh, look, another door. Let's go down this thing, and it's full of dragons. So the first go was rough. I'll say that much. How about yourself, Cameron?
Yeah, I actually did that exact same thing as well. I remember my first playthrough, I think I started with a thief because high dexterity sounded fun. And I was like, I'm a thief. I've got a master key for free. I'm pretty sure yeah, thief starts with a master key, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I was like, I looked up and like, that's a thin path up a cliff. I'm not going up there. I'll go down these nice sturdy stairs. Look, there's a nice sturdy elevator. You know, it's pretty chill down there. There's just hollows lying around, sort of tanning in the underground lake. And yeah, got beat up by the ghosts, found the path into Valley of the Drakes, and I actually made my way to Blighttown as like my first area for a bit, and that was pretty bad.
Yeah, I think the bigger issue is going to New Londo first. They didn't utterly make it like a roadblock. There's the single, I think, transient curse you can find. So you're like, oh, this must just allow me to fight the ghosts for like a minute.
Right.
and then I was like running around going, where's more of this item? This is ridiculous. Anything else on our Spectre buddies?
I also just wanted to bring up the fact that there are actually two. There's a variant of the basic knife wielding ghost. There's also the what I refer to as the Banshee, which is the ghost holding her dead baby and screaming.
Yeah.
Which, aside from just being unnerved by having an enemy scream at you, just getting up close and realizing that she's just swaddling this dead infant was kind of shocking in a way that I wasn't expecting from Dark Souls. It was very humanizing for a second. If that's the proper word. It's sad. New Londo starts off as, God, I hate these ghosts. And then you pick up on these little details and you realize, wow, this place is sad and they're just stuck here forever.
Yeah, and that's not even getting into what happens once you drain the water.
Yeah,
it's the whole place is really evocative, and I think it's one of my more favorite, at least visually, designed settings in Dark Souls. The first one, anyway.
Agreed.
All right. I guess it's back to me. So my next point of discussion is our friends, the giant mosquitoes that infest the lower area of Blighttown. What a pain. And I think the worst part is they remind me of like Will-O-Wisp or a Corpse Light. When you get to the bottom of Blighttown after making your way down all that scaffolding, there's it's a crag spider. There's a larger like lava looking spider, and then off in the distance you see like just a little glowing dot, and it just gets closer, and then you can hear its wings. And what was I using? I'm just using like a short sword or something that was not hitting them. And I may or may not have had a bow, or just I've been out of arrows at the time. So yeah, at range, you're getting like 2 or 3 of them tracking you. But yeah, just a pain. And at first it's like, oh, it's, what is it? What's coming toward me? Just that little light out there. And I was hoping it would just stay out there in the distance. It's like, it's poison swamp. I don't really want to go out into there to be pestered by these bugs. And then I think Patty's doing his one bro right now, and he was throwing down some tips of using the throwing daggers at the mosquitoes. That would have been helpful to know too.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you guys? How'd you find those mosquitoes?
I'm pretty sure that the first time that I encountered them, when I made my way to the swamp of Blighttown, I said, "Oh, mosquitoes! Like, what are they gonna do?" And I was, they stabbed me, and I said, "Yep, that sounds about right." And then they started splashing poison blood on me, and I was like, yeah, this is no good. And so I tried killing them, and then more respawned, and I killed them, more respawned, and I said, oh, they're just going to respawn forever, so I will just move on. Let them catch me if they can, but I'm not wasting any more time killing them.
Yeah, I used all my arrows. I had 300 arrows left after getting the Drake sword. I used all of them.
Yeah, I think on subsequent runs, or maybe I came back later and had combustion or something. So when they got close, I just lit them up. A little bit easier than hucking fireballs into the darkness. All right, covered those guys. Cameron, what's your second pick?
Well, continuing with our Blighttown theme, my second pick is the Infested Barbarian, otherwise known as the big crappy looking ogres that are all over that place. So I like these guys for a couple of reasons. They come in, we've got two variants. We've got the ones with the clubs, and we've got the ones with the boulders. I initially thought of the ones with the boulders when I made this pick, but so the ones with the clubs, they're big, they're strong, they've got a lot of HP for when you get to Blighttown normally. But they do some interesting animations. They have this roar that they keep looping a lot, where they just kind of shake themselves at you, hold the club back, and actually don't attack, like they're trying to fend you off. And then the boulder ones are just fantastic because they roll these giant sort of, I'm not sure what they're made of, like clay and rock mashed together boulders at you, and occasionally huck them and then pick another one up and run back, sort of wheeling it at you. They're just a lot of fun to watch and run past.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. Was I just pretty much ran past them. They're on that hill up to Kraylog, so it's like, I don't really want to mess with them if I stay really far to this corner. It doesn't aggro them. But then you get poisoned, so...
Yeah.
Any particular thoughts on the Blighttown Giants, Leonard?
Yeah, came in through the main entrance after fighting the Gaping Dragon, and made my way down to the scaffolding and encountered my first one. He came charging at me, and he let out his roar, and I held my ground, and he took a swing at me and swiped me off the scaffolding, and I said, oh, these guys aren't a joke, and this doesn't seem like it's going to be fun. And so I proceeded to head down partway through the scaffolding and just unload like 30 arrows into its head from the first one's head from on top, just to get that one out of the way, only to be waylaid by a second one immediately after touching down again. They're a roadblock when you first encounter them. If you're leveling as normal, they hit like a truck, and they are tough boys. They are toughies.
Yeah, they really are. And like you mentioned, even if you're blocking, if they hit you, they tend to slide you around a bit, which is no good on some of those thin scaffoldings.
Yeah, and they put them, of course, strategically placed guarding items and the sort of back area of the lower part of the swamp, and that. I don't remember if I think I just Benny Hilled them. I just ran around and tried to grab stuff and not get smashed. Or wait for, kind of like bait an attack out and then run past and hope they didn't take a second swing. Good times. That brings us to Leonard's second pick.
Oh boy, it's everybody's favorite Dark Souls monster. It is the Mimic.
Yay.
Honestly, I think probably the first monster that anyone who's played a Souls game thinks of is the Mimic, because man, that is a fantastic Mimic design. So you encounter the Mimic in Sin's Fortress after so many traps and snake men and pendulums and nonsense, and you run past the boulder trap and you run into a room and you see a treasure chest, and I said, yes, treasure, because I'm greedy. And I opened it up, and these hands popped out, and I was dead. And I was like, oh, this game has mimics in it? There was a lot of, oh, this game has moments for me during my initial playthrough of Dark Souls. So I make my way back, and I'm like, okay, you mimic, you mimic bastard, I'm gonna hit you. And I hit him, and arms came out. And then it stood up, and I said, oh, this thing's terrifying, and I don't want to fight it in this tiny room. And then it grabbed me and killed me again. That was my first Mimic story. First of at least 25 Mimic stories.
Yeah, and I think that even most of the encounters are pretty memorable up until you start being provided with ways to kind of counter the Mimic with the Lloyd's Talisman.
Yeah,
yeah. Or maybe the Dual Charm. I don't remember which one of them puts him to sleep. But
it's the Lloyd's.
Yeah. I think design wise, I mean, they're iconic. They've been sort of a trope for dungeon crawls and other RPGs over the years. This take, since they're mobile, was probably the most frightening. I mean, they just come running at you, and they're far larger than you. So again, you get that dissonance where it's like, oh, it's a small chest. Nope, it's like twice my height. Great. And they can kick.
Oh, yeah. They have some amazing attack animations. All the big roundhouse kicks and stuff.
I'm actually particularly a big fan of the very silly but incredibly animated just one-legged kick. The football punt is my favorite Mimic kick, because it's really goofy. It's really goofy looking to have this super horrific, gigantic, chest-headed monster just kind of Charlie Brown kick you in an attempt to murder you.
Yeah. And they have a lot of general detail put into them as well. So the way you're meant to tell it's a Mimic is every chest has a little chain, and I forget the rhyme that I heard somewhere, but basically, if the chain's folding back, you're okay. But if the chain's pointing forward, you should leave the chest alone.
Yeah, it's like
but
chain
you can also
in,
just
mimic within.
yeah. I think that's it, something like that. But you can also just watch the chest, and after a little while, it'll start breathing. Or if you're very lucky, it might stretch because it's just sleepy and kind of bored of being in the same position all the time.
Yeah, that's also really, really fantastic. Just like it, because it makes it fair. It makes it feel like you're not getting that. If you're lazy and you're not using your senses, you'll get caught. But if you just take a little time to look at it, you'll realize pretty easily that you're dealing with a mimic. And I love it because it is really, really fair.
Yeah. The first one's always going to get you, but after that, if you get got, it's your fault.
Yeah, and I mean, they over the series they change some of the, like, I guess, versions. So we get the mimics that kind of crawl upside down, which is also unnerving. And those are just like, oh, don't chase me, please. But no, they're great, and this one in particular that we encounter has the lightning demon spear, I believe.
Yeah. Or so, I think it's just the lightning spear, maybe.
Yep,
it's a regular spear with lightning.
But I definitely, it was a hard-won prize that I used for a little while. Traded out my Uber Drake sword for him. But I mean, as far as their design goes, and Sen's Fortress on a whole, what's nice about Dark Souls 1 is there's not a lot of areas that kind of pressure you. Nothing's really trying to hurry you through, and then even Sen's Fortress, which is full of traps, doesn't really want you to run through. It gives you, little breather moments to check your environment, and so which is how we avoid the spiked elevator trap. I mean, there's blood all over it, so there's little cues. They're present, and I think that they made the space around that first mimic calm enough that you could, in theory, take your time and see that it's breathing or something. But who does that?
Yeah. I mean, the chest is a little weirdly placed, like it's at an odd angle, but apart from that, chests are safe.
Yeah.
Chests are full of good things.
Like human fingers, like bony human fingers and a giant tongue. That's the good thing that these chests have.
Yeah. And, I mean, they become a hat, and that's pretty cool.
Oh yes, that symbol of avarice is my favorite helmet, I'm pretty sure.
All right, anything else on the mimics?
No, I think that's about it. I love them. They're great. They are fantastic, iconic Dark Souls monsters.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that's one that I wouldn't mind seeing on a t-shirt, which I'm sure there are. All right, moving on, I'll go with my last pick for our Monsters of Dark Souls 1, the egg carriers, which we encounter these guys right after that hill of the infested barbarians in Blighttown on the way to Kralog. So it's a kind of a precursor to a boss fight, and they're horrifying. So I guess to set the stage, you run across these figures in almost like a fetal position. They're just on the ground. I don't think they're even wearing any clothes. And their backs are riddled with these huge pustules that are the same mass as like another person. They're not aggressive. They're just kind of sitting there. But I think the way that, especially the last area in most of this game goes, is you're sort of conditioned to, that's not an NPC, smack it, you know, hit it with something before it gets you. And in doing so, you're kind of punished because these guys, when they die, they release out those maggots. And
yeah,
that's equally or more disturbing than just looking at them sort of sitting there. And they're a disgusting enemy. I picked them just because it's different again than most of the enemies you've encountered up to then. Like they're just sort of crouching there, and even when they do become aggressive, there's like maybe 2 aggressive ones later. They don't move very fast. They just sort of scuttle after you, and they can inflict a. Do they bite you? I think the little maggot comes out and bites you. But
if the maggots get you,
if the maggots get you enough times, you too become one of these egg carriers. At least your head does, and it's disgusting.
It is fantastic.
Oh, it's great. I mean, I did it enough. I think remember, it takes forever. It's like 100 attacks or something, and then eventually, or no, you get infested, and then I think it absorbs the souls that you are supposed to get.
You get infested, and then it absorbs 50% of the souls you take, and it needs something like 10,000 or 20,000, I think.
Yeah, it takes a
Some
while.
ridiculous number.
But it the larva within it matures and bursts out the top, and that becomes your like attack. It's pretty neat. Disgusting, but like again, so completely unlike anything else that you could expect in the game.
Yeah, and it's ridiculously detailed as well. Like you said, it replaces your kick with like a maggot attack thing. But in the lead up, while your souls are being absorbed, there's a clue, because every now and again your character will scratch at their head as if something's growing there.
Yeah, and it was that was like, do I want to finish, getting this weapon? But it kept going on, and I was like, just stop scratching. All right, what do you think about these guys, Leonard?
Yeah, they're great. They're really sad and pathetic. They really kind of help establish the fair lady and her own sickness. I actually have a story about that. My first legitimate run through Dark Souls 1, I chose a pyromancer. And I never learned any pyromancies my entire first run because I inadvertently killed every single pyromancer trainer that I ran across. I killed. I forget his name. In the depths, who you're supposed to save from the butcher.
Oh, Laurentius?
Yes, I didn't roll. I attacked, so he became hostile, and I had to murder him. I found the hidden room to the fair lady, and I saw Inji, and I was like, oh, one of those gross egg carrier things. I'm just going to murder it before it has a chance to attack me. And I did. And then realized that I probably murdered an NPC. And so my entire first run of Dark Souls as a pyromancer, I never learned any pyromancies because I inadvertently murdered all of my trainers.
Wow.
But yeah, Inji was like the third ed carrier that I saw, and I had attacked one on the way to Quelaag and had the worms come out, and I was like, yeah, no, not gonna deal with that. I'm just gonna try to get rid of all the ones that I can see that might be hostile. Because I don't know why. I thought Inji looked hostile. There was just something about him that seemed different. He was looking right at me as soon as that illusory wall disappeared. I was like, ah. And yeah, the egg carriers are great. They're really sad. They're really pathetic. They give you Parasite. They're really kind of fantastic enemies that are just like lower rung things that do something cool if you let them actually attack you.
Yeah, I mean, discovering like a lot of this stuff, discovering the little hidden things. Personally, I found a lot of it through the wikis and lore videos. But I got to imagine that whoever first found that stuff, it's just like, it's great. I mean, why would you sit there and, I'm scratching my head and I guess I just need to get more souls? I mean, who thinks of that?
It's fantastic.
And it's that sort of
yeah.
super obscure stuff that makes Dark Souls 1 great, I reckon.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's those little lasting things. That's part of why I wanted to cover this part is kind of getting these anecdotes and sort of giving a place to these creatures and the various enemies as an experience, not just a thing that you encounter and as a one-off or something. They're all pretty iconic in their own way. So Cameron, it's your go for your number 3.
Yeah, my number 3 has actually been very briefly mentioned already. It is the great feline of the Darkroot Garden. You mentioned earlier the big angry cats, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these guys they're unique and they don't respawn, if I remember correctly. There's only 3 of them. But basically, if you take a different path through Darkroot Garden, you'll come across sort of a little open plateau with a little ledge overlooking it. And there are just these 3 enormous cats up there. And, they'll jump down and then they will roll at you at high speeds. Which I'm just realizing is a theme for a lot of the enemies I like from Dark Souls 1. It's the rolling ones, apparently. But no, it's really great. It's this massive, massive cat. It's like the size of a small van, and it just curls up, rolls at you, and then it stops after it hits you maybe, or it runs into a wall, and then it gets better because its mouth is ridiculously sort of long and massive and just opens super wide. Almost snake-like, really. And so they're really interesting design, they take something familiar, a cat, and they make it sort of big and brawny and have a really weird mouth and move really weirdly, and it just really stuck with me for some reason. They're very interesting.
So how'd you find your encounter with these guys the first time, Cameron?
I died horribly, and then I died horribly again, and then I went and I bought 300 more arrows because I'd used them all fighting the mosquitoes in Blighttown. And I took my time. And after about 10, 15 minutes, I think I finished off the last one.
Nice. Yeah, I think I was trying to bait them into rolling into the trees. I might have had one of the Black Knight shields. So, something that had pretty good stability. And I think it stopped them from mowing me over with the roll at least once. Get a couple hits in and then run away. Repeat.
Yeah, it's hard to fight them head on.
That even better when the second one jumps off the cliff. It's like, oh wait, there's 2. Great.
Yeah. What about you, Leonard? What were your thoughts on these big cats?
Oh man, I don't like these things at all. I mean, their designs are great, but I just remember encountering them the first time. What is that? Is that like a tanuki with a giant mouth? What? Just like, I'm like, and then it Sonic spin dashes right into me, and I'm just like, oh no, I don't want to have this fight, not with this thing. And so I poke it a little, and then I get spin dashed from behind by the other one, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna leave you kitty cats here for right now because I don't want to deal with you, and I'll come back later. And so after I put the last Lord Soul in the vessel. I came back to Darkroot and took care of the cats right before beating the game because I really didn't want to deal with them until like the last possible moment.
Wow, that bad, huh?
Yeah, I think it's just their movement options opposed to yours as a player just makes that encounter like really not fun for me. Like even less fun than dealing with a bunch of bone wheels. Like they move so fast that it's hard to manage your stamina and keep track of them and actually do any damage without just being murdered outright.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. They're not there for a fair fight. I think you got to cow it out like I did.
Yeah, and I mean the little area that they're in, it's a very small little platform, and then a sort of little bit of land rise behind it. But they're dark. The area is dark. It's nighttime. It's not fun. But they look cool.
Yes, they do look cool.
Okay. So Leonard, your last pick of the day.
Yes, that would be the Picasa from the Duke's Archives.
Go on. I don't remember which one that is, actually. So.
Those are, I believe they're the only normal enemy in the game that actually gets a cutscene. They're the little horrific squid monsters that are released when you wake up after your first meeting with Seath the Scaleless. I think one of the things that really cements them as this, like, one of many things that makes them really, really fascinating is the fact that they actually get a cutscene introduction as just a normal monster. And also, they're just gross. They are just some of the grossest, like, hey, guess what? Did you think that there wasn't any Bloodborne in your Dark Souls before Bloodborne? Take a look at these. They're just nothing but sadness and tentacles.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's even the two non-hostile ones that just kind of cry in the corner, aren't there? As far as sadness goes. You
get down there and you've murdered like 7 of them, and you find 2 that are non-hostile. And if you're a jerk like I am, you murder them, and you see that they drop those miracles, and you're like, oh, I've been murdering sad, kidnapped maidens that this monster dragon has been experimenting on. I'm a bad person.
That's okay. You already killed all the NPCs. So.
I had a real problem killing people my first run in Dark Souls.
Yeah, mine wasn't quite so bad. I got a couple, but you got them all by the sounds of it.
He's running his Monty Python skit. Gotta save the princess. Oh, it's a prince.
But yeah, I think they're just aside from just what you discover about them, the fact that they're introduced in the cutscene, they're so alien and weird, and they are super threatening at first because you've got the music being played and they're slithering up, and you have snakemen who are running from them. It's a really interesting encounter setup for enemies that ultimately aren't that difficult, but they really make you believe that these things are horrible and you don't want to deal with them.
Yeah. They're also a little bit of a Demon Souls callback, although I can't blame you for not knowing that. Tower of Latria has the sort of the squid-headed guards that do the exact same grab attack, where you get picked up and spiked.
Oh yes, the not mind flayers.
Yeah, exactly. You can't sue us. It's not called a mind flare.
Yeah, I mean that whole encounter. No, it's a nice set piece, and I wasn't sure if I was more scared of the stupid alarm sound or the monsters at the bottom. I'm like, are they making that? No, that's the guy with the little. He's turning the wheel, and it was ridiculous. That whole area. Yeah. Kicking snake men off ladders. That was Snakes and Ladders. That's what that part's called.
Well, that's the episode title.
Yeah, I was about to say that. There we go. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about those guys. How about you? All set?
Yeah, seems about it to me.
All right. Well, then we'll move on to our trio of bosses. I'll start it off. So my pick for this was the good old centipede demon. This was a great fight, or a ridiculous one. Basically, you're battling this giant monster on a field of lava. So it is as if the huge centipede beast isn't enough. Let's make everything on fire. It'll be great. And if you go into this fight and you're not summoning anyone, I think I maybe have summoned Solaire, and he just ran off into the lava and died. I don't. Please, don't run off into the lava. What are you doing? But if you can make a hop, skip, and a jump on the right side of the arena, it opens up, and there's a sort of a platform, gives you some space to fight. And I lucked out into cutting off his tail like right in the beginning. So he drops the the name of the ring. It's the able to walk on lava ring.
The orange charred ring?
Yeah, that one. And if you're quick enough, you can equip that. Providing that it lessens the damage of lava by like 90% or something. Makes the fight a little bit easier. Or if you're super lucky, the demon can jump on the wall and glitch himself out of the arena, which my brother had happen, and it was great.
Wow, okay.
He just dropped off the map. We're like, okay, yep, that fight's done. Great. Anticlimactic. Actually, both bosses in that area can be done the same way. The first boss, just because he'll stretch forth his mighty arm, and you give him a little flick, and he'll just fall right down. It's good.
It's kind of appropriate, since the centipede demon is the result of that first boss's incompetence.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of the bosses you can see as you go into the level. You kind of just see him chilling on the wall. So that's kind of neat. You can kind of read the encounter before it happens, or psych yourself out even more in certain cases. I'm like, what is that thing? How it's too big? You just stay over there. I'm not going to bug you. But that doesn't, of course, turn out so well. But yeah, it's a fun fight. How did you guys fare on that one?
Personally, I think the boss is very well designed, but the arena needs a little more space and a little less lava for it to really shine. The first time I fought it, I got pushed into the lava. The second time I fought it, I rolled into the lava. The third time I fought it, I got pushed into the lava again. And the fourth time, I found the path around to the right side where there was actually space to fight it. But yeah, no, it was fun sort of figuring out where I would die and where I would not die. But And the boss has mechanics that a lot of people just don't see because, like you said, you can cut off its tail or its various limbs and they'll become enemies on the ground. And if you cut the right one off, you'll get the ring of lava walking, which is very handy. And it'll eventually grow those limbs back as well. But you hardly ever see any of that because what you see is a pair of legs kind of just landing on you and then lava.
Yeah, I think that's one thing to consider is this boss fight. It's one of the few where the camera ends up being the battle more than the boss. I think I ended up just seeing a bunch of centipede underbelly for most of the fight.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I remember. I think I died maybe 3 times before I found the side of the arena where there was actually room, and I was just in Underbelly Town. That Underbelly Town with R1 spam that entire fight, and I was just like, I couldn't make anything out except for like a talon here or there and a head, and then it was over, and I was like, well, that was a fight.
Yep, one and done. All right, and Cameron, it's your turn.
Yes, it is indeed. I took my pick from the DLC as far as bosses go. And following my trend of I like big dragony things, I've chosen Calamite, the black dragon of destruction and annihilation, and all those beautiful things. So Calamite's a big black dragon. Is it meant to be an ancient dragon? I can't remember correctly right now.
I think so. I don't know, my lore's shaky on some of this stuff.
Yeah, me too, as far as the DLC especially. But what I really like, so it's a black dragon, typical 4 legs, 2 wings, a tail, and a head kind of dragon. And it's sort of in this dark reddish black, but it has just this one central glowing red eye, which really draws attention to its sort of head and all the horns and really makes it stand out. And also gives it an absolutely fantastic looking grab attack where he just sort of psychically lifts you into the air and inflicts some kind of curse on you. You get like a little red dot over your head, and you actually take double damage while that's up, which is horrific in that fight. But I chose him primarily because A, I like dragons, but B, he makes a really good impression throughout the DLC. Like, he'll land on a little bridge early on, so you get a glimpse at him and then fly off. And then you can find his arena a bit later on, but he's able to fly. And so he just kind of carpet bombs you with these black and yellow flames, and you try and you try and you try because there's loot down there. You can see like items. There's a slab and a chest behind the waterfall, I think. And eventually you give up and you go through the DLC and you find Hawkeye Goff, one of the 4 Knights of Gwyn, just up in his tower, and you talk to him about Calamite, and he's like, "Oh, I'll take care of that." You get this great cutscene where Calamite gets shot out of the sky, and now you get to do the boss fight, which is tough, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, that's one of the few. I didn't finish the Artorias DLC, so I still have Calamite and Manus waiting there for me, and they can go wait there for a little while. Not in any hurry. But yeah, I did do the first encounter, and I don't at the time think I knew about the Hawkeye Goff thing, so I just thought that was the boss fight, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. He's just flying around, and I can't hit him, and then he one-shots me with a barrage of fire. This is crap,
Yeah. There's actually a developer note somewhere in the arena. It's ridiculous because, pardon me, forgot the button again. The arena is this sort of long valley with a cliff at the far end. can run through the fire to almost the end of the valley, there will be a developer note saying something along the lines of, "If only I had a Hawkeye," or something. And that's meant to be your clue to go talk to him. I don't see how you could get to it, though, if he was just kind of flying and carpet bombing.
Yeah, it was. I walked into there. You come out of that. I don't know if you go down a ladder or you come into the little valley, and you could see him there. He just kind of did one strafe run, and I was dead. And I was like, okay, no, this isn't fun at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I recall correctly, I believe that you can either fight him when he can still fly or shoot him down yourself with a great bow, and Goth will compliment you on that once you actually defeat Calamite.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that, actually. That's pretty cool.
But yes, as far as its design, it is really, really striking with that single cyclopic eye and just the head shape, because its mouth beak is so narrow and pronounced. It is an extremely sinister looking dragon. Like, you have your dragons that look like giant lizards or your Chinese wish dragons or so on and so forth, but Calamite looks like an evil dragon. And it's great.
And even the name is a play on Calamity. As you find out, if you manage to beat him, you get the Calamity ring, which is hey, you beat one of the hardest bosses in Dark Souls 1. Have a ring that makes you take double damage.
Right. Oh, Calamity ring. Oh, you trolley rings.
Yep. So if there's nothing else on Calamite, we're good there?
Yeah, I think we're good. So, Leonard, your boss choice.
Yes, I am going with Dark Sun Gwendolyn.
Yes, because you kill all the NPCs.
Oh, yeah. How ironic. Man, everything about Dark Sun Gwendolyn is really, really fascinating to me. I didn't initially kill Guinevere, but I thought at one point, well, she doesn't really say anything. She doesn't really do anything. If I shoot her, I'll just go to Oswald and absolve myself if I make her angry. I just want to know. I just want to know what happens. Like, does she say anything? And then she exploded, and and the sky went dark, and I said, "Oh, I did a bad, huh?" And then I had to murder the Dark Moon Nidus. So there was that, and some NPC, normal human NPCs in Anor Londo, and then I went down to the Tomb of the King and made my way to Gwendolyn, and I love the stage. I think it's fantastic. Even if you can get to the end, that image of this endless hallway is just really, really fantastic. And of course, it makes sense that it's an illusion, since that's what Gwendolyn does.
Yeah, so let's talk about his appearance. It's pretty, again, striking. I mean, he has snakes for legs.
And yes, snakes for legs. This very pure white and gold trim cloak, and this crown mask. This mask crown that really evokes the sun, and he's a very striking figure, and he's a range attacker, which is also really great. He fires moonlight arrows at you from his bow. He fires this energy blast that goes through pillars and really ticks everybody off.
Yep.
And this entire boss fight, you're just running at him and hoping to hit him like 2 or 3 times before he vanishes like a mile farther down the hallway.
Yeah. The hallway stuff, like you said, it looks great. You do a lot of running. My thumb was getting a bit tired, sort of holding down. So just to keep sprinting. Yeah, I really like Gwendolyn because he's super duper important lore-wise because he's a member of the royal family. He's Gwyn's youngest child. Was raised as a daughter because he had the power of the moon. But because this is Anor Londo and the sun is everything, we don't talk about the moon. We call him the Dark Sun because why not?
Right. Gwen, what is that? We've decided. I can imagine Seath coming to Gwen. I named this thing the moon. Moon. Moon doesn't sound like sun. Let's call it a dark sun.
It's the sun that comes out at night. It's dark.
No, it reminds me of the Bloodborne wikis for a few weeks after the initial release. They referred to the late afternoon, early evening time stage of the game as the bright moon stage. And I'm like, no, it's the sun. Sunset happens. It's okay. It's not all moon.
No, it's the moon the entire game. There's never any sun unless you get there one ending.
Yeah, it's always the night of the hunt. We'll get into that in a later episode. It'll be great.
Oh yes.
Okay. Anything else on good old Dark Sun Gwendolyn?
Dark Sun Gwendolyn's really, really sad, and then his story only gets sadder later on.
Oh
yeah, he doesn't have a super great ending, does he?
He does not.
No, a lot of these people don't, unfortunately. But that's part and parcel of a draw of the series, I think. That we get these arcs, and they generally, don't always end well. There's a lot of pathos and stuff, but that's, I don't know, that's kind of why I was playing it. Can be in a bad mood or not having a great day, and then just go mow down some ghosts.
the only person in Dark Souls who gets a happy ending is Andre.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Oh goodness. All right. So for this episode, we got some listener responses. That's great. Put a question out on Twitter and see if we can get people's favorite monsters and or boss creatures from Dark Souls 1. And we got a couple back in. So our first one is from at Patty Stardust, one half of the Twin Humanities. And he put forth the Titanite Demon. So I'll go with the first encounter. You meet this guy right beneath Andre, actually, or just to the left, however you want to orient that. So he's between Andre and the Darkroot Garden, and again, just one of those massive enemies. This for anyone that hasn't played Dark Souls, it's a giant headless and one-legged statue. It's missing, I think, an arm and a leg and a head, or maybe it has both arms. Does he have two arms? I don't even know anymore. Yeah, he's both crawling with one, and he has the staff in the other. So he's missing one leg and his head. But the way it looks like it's carved is the head may have just never been there in the first place. There's the sort of Titanite runes on the completely clean-shaven neck. So this guy, yeah, he he's one of those gatekeepers. I mean, I think figuratively and literally, you can sort of juke around him, but if you're determined to beat this guy right off the bat, it's not a good time. Pretty much any of the large sweeping swings with the staff, that'll one shot you, and then he shoots lightning, and that's just fun for everybody.
Yeah. He's also ridiculously physically tough. Like, he has insane physical damage reduction, so he's pretty hard to wear down.
Yeah, it's just chip damage. I mean, you're not really doing a whole lot. But I think it's a nice set piece. You go into this like sort of interstitial area, and I think at first, I mean, he's moving around, but you could go in there and he's just facing away from you, and just looks like just a plain statue. There's a few of these toppled and crumbled columns that are littering the arena, which become, I think, in turn barriers against the lightning, but also impediments to trying to just run right past. I know I ran into and got stuck on like the geometry a couple times, just trying to get past this guy and see what was on the other side of the door behind him.
Yeah.
How did Cameron? How did you find that encounter?
Well, this Titanite demon specifically, the one there next to the Darkroot Garden, is like an old friend at this point. I've never killed him, and I know something about a good Dark Souls run is sort of just dodging by him through the Darkroot, dodging by him back to Andre, and back and forth till I've got, a nice upgraded weapon. And I know it wouldn't feel the same if he wasn't there, so I've just never tried to kill him after the first couple of playthroughs. But the first encounter was, pretty striking. You walk down, and then suddenly something starts shooting lightning bolts at you, and it's this big statue made of metal, effectively. And you go close, and it jumps at you, and it sweeps around, and you go, okay, no, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave you be. To the Darkroot Garden, let me go.
How about yourself, Leonard?
Oh man, so the Titanite demon is really, really fascinating. The Darkroot encounter is really fascinating to me for one reason, and it is the proximity between it and a really important NPC. It really kind of signposts that as soon as you're away from like an NPC or somebody that is valuable, like you don't get like 15 feet of breathing room. You're back in it, and you need to be ready to be back in it. And that's what the Titanite demon represents to me. Like it's such a striking image, so close to what you thought was safety that you're like, oh, there's really kind of no safety here. Like you're not gonna give me any room to breathe once I'm out of a place where it wouldn't be a good idea to have enemies. And yeah, my first encounter, it just murdered me. I tried my shoot it with arrows trick because that was my trick, my first playthrough, and it only partially worked. And then I had to fumbly finish him off with whatever short sword I was using, and I got rid of him. And I was like, Andre, you're safe. You can leave now. You're free. You can see the world, and you don't have to build weapons here anymore because this horrible monster that's been keeping you here is gone. But of course, he didn't leave, and I went to Darkroot Garden. And I think the best part about finally being the Titanite demon is I walk into the Darkroot Garden. I get the title card. I go forward a little. The demonic foliage runs up to me and grabs me and murders me.
Oh, Matt will be happy to hear that.
But yeah, I really like the Titanite demons, even though they're really a pain to take out.
Yeah, so there you go, Patty. There's our take on the Titanite demon. Cameron, why don't you take the next prompt?
Yep. Our next submission is from Richard from @WeareNotWizards, who I believe we mentioned right at the start of the podcast about the they do a board game podcast, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And Richard submitted the Gaping Dragon. Lucky me, I get to do another dragon. So the Gaping Dragon is actually a boss from the base game. You encounter him at the end of the depths, just before Blighttown. And I really, really love this boss, sort of design-wise. It's a fun fight as well. I mentioned it last episode as well when I talked about channelers, because there's a channeler overlooking this boss fight, and he can buff the boss, and he can shoot spells down, and it's a good time. But the Gaping Dragon itself is one of the ancient dragons that gorged itself to excess, and so sprouted a giant mouth made out of its own rib cage. It's a very cool design. It's sort of this long, it's like you start with a long, slender, almost snake-like dragon. It's got 6 wings, a whole bunch of legs, and then you sort of fold it backwards at a 90-degree angle and sort of pull the rib cage open and turn it into teeth. And it looks horrific and weird, and it moves in an interesting way again. It's got a lot of interesting sort of attack animations. And your first encounter with it is you get a cutscene where this little crocodile-style head sort of peeks up over an edge. And then here comes the dragon. It sort of crawls its way up, and you see the entire thing, and it is massive. It's absolutely huge. It's got this big open arena and everything. It's very impressive to look at. It's very sort of unsettling to look at because of the way its body sort of moves and is sort of stretched to fit its new mouth and everything. I really, really like it. What do you guys think?
Oh, I was going to say, in regards to that introduction cutscene that it gets, I think it's really fantastic for a simple reason, because so much of the promotional material for Dark Souls 1 was the Gaping Dragon, that when that cutscene starts up and you see that little head come up, I'm like, oh, what boss is this? And then the reveal of, oh, it's that awful dragon sideways mouth thing. Like you don't immediately get it until like that head slithers up and you realize it's attached to this giant, horrible vertical maw. I love the fact that even though it's something that we all saw leading up to the release of the game, that when we actually encounter it, it takes us a little while to be like, oh, that's the thing that I saw. That was cool.
Yeah, same thing. Is totally a case of that cutscene kicks in, and I don't even think I saw the promotional material. I just kind of blind bought Dark Souls because I knew sort of what I was maybe getting into. But yeah, that cutscene kicks off, and I was just like, "Oh, hey, little guy!" And, oh, never mind, he's not a little guy.
Yeah, it looks so cute at the start of the cutscene, and then it is not.
Yeah, then he's like the completely opposite of cute. You're just no, never mind. I'm gonna run the other way now. Do I have to do this? But what's also fun is this is one of the fights where you can summon both Lautrec and Solaire, and so that makes it a little bit more even, I guess. Other than horribly increasing the HP pool of the boss. That's always fun.
Yeah.
And then I think there was a lot of memes going around of parry the Gaping Dragon, Lautrec can parry the Gaping Dragon.
I must have missed that. Jeez.
Yeah, you can. It's probably still on YouTube. You can find them. Oh, good times. All right, that brings us to our next prompt. And Leonard, if you would be so kind.
Yes, from at Jeremy or at JG Greer from Mr. Jeremy Greer, he wants to know our thoughts about the Chaos Eaters from Lost Izalith. Chaos Eaters are really goofy looking and terrifying. They are unlike anything else in Lost Izalith. I think they might have been the only finished thing in Lost Izalith because they are okay. They are, think of a upside down triangle where the top disc is just a mouth with a row of razor sharp teeth. They've got big goofy tentacles and just slap a bunch of rareware googly eyes on the side of them. And that's the Chaos Eaters. But the thing that makes the Chaos Eaters really, really interesting is that they love to break your equipment.
Oh boy, do they.
They spew acid at you that basically instantly breaks your equipment. Does their grab eating attack actually do equipment damage as well?
I think it
so.
does. Yeah.
And they are bastards. They are the worst. They are there. They exist to ruin your day. That's they're not difficult. They're not particularly scary once you get over the initial shock. Make you angry that they exist.
All right, Jeremy, did you hear that? You picked the worst monster. Goodness.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm a pretty big fan of them, apart from all the acid and equipment breakage.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm a pretty big Lovecraft fan, and these things look like they're straight out of like At the Mountains of Madness or something like that.
Yeah.
And also, I think, if I'm remembering right, if you get a plunging attack on them, it messes up, and you get all chewed up by the top head mouth thing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're jumping into a maw, so probably not the best idea. I know I only encountered the first one on the stairs. I think I saw the pit with some of them in it. Of course, that means I didn't finish our Dear Onion Bros quest. Guess he died down there.
Oh, yeah. It happens.
But yeah, it's a memorable encounter, if not terribly fun. Just made that run up to the boss annoying. Just like, I'll fight this guy again. And have him not break my stuff. All right. Anything else on the Chaos Eater? I think we kind of covered him.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
All right. So I'll take our next prompt. It's from Stephen Vayu at Steps Vayu. Sorry, buddy. I'll put it in the notes. Too hard to spell. AKA he's been rolling with the avatar title, I guess, of Old Man Dark Souls. Gets me every time. Good times. So he's asking us about the basilisks, and we mentioned these a little bit earlier. They have the penchant for spewing curse gas at you, and they have the largest googly eyes in the game. These guys are great.
Except they, yeah.
They, I think encounter wise, I mean they're placed in the depths, and they're sort of at the bottom of various pitfalls, little basilisk nests. You can you can fall into them and get insta cursed, which, as we talked about, halves your health. And then originally each successive cursing would again cut that in half until you could just have like 1 HP. It would just be ridiculous. You could rolling off of something could kill you at that point. You become Geralt, actually. Can't make any jumps. Yeah, I mean, these guys, they're visually distinctive. They're large, lizard-like buddies with huge, what turn out to be false eyes on their heads, and their actual eyes are much more proportionally sized above their little beak-like faces.
Yeah.
They're pretty fun. I mean, you basically just have to kind of circle strafe and not stay in the range of their breath, and just take a whack at them. Not as fun when there's like 5 of them. They can pretty much clear out a whole room, just fill it with that curse gas. How about you guys? How was your encounters with these guys? Cameron?
Well, first off, they are incredibly cute, at least for me. It's the big googly eyes that do it, I think. Although they're, as you pointed out, not their actual eyes. Which is pretty cool in itself. I didn't actually encounter these guys in the depths first, because I went the back way round into Blighttown, and I actually found myself in the Great Hollow. So I went, I went down in there, and there were some basilisks in there. There are also some very, very steep drops. And so they started spewing gas at me, and I dodged out of a gas cloud, and 400 or 500 feet. I didn't even know that it did curse. I sort of just assumed, building up a bar on my screen, it has to be bad, I'll dodge out of it. But I did not have the room to do that, apparently.
Yeah, let's put the curse guys on, or an area effect weapon on like the hardest platforming part of the game.
Oh yeah, definitely a good choice.
What about you, Leonard?
How about yourself, Leonard?
Oh man, so I did encounter the basilisk in the depths. The depths really messed with me because it's a sewer level. That's how that works. They want you in that sewer level as long as humanly possible, so you can hate it to the maximum degree. And so I didn't navigate one of the tunnels properly and missed one of those pitfall drops and fell into the basilisk nest, the area that has, what is it, like 8 basilisks when you land in there. And I landed in there, and I was like, oh, hey, I didn't take damage. And I didn't see the basilisks immediately. Like, they hadn't aggroed on me. And so I was looking around, and I saw, like, my first curse statue, and was like, oh, that's weird. And then I swing the camera around, and there are these hideous, gigantic, like rictusy, googly eyes. Rictusy is not the right word. Googly eyes. And I lose it, and I just start swinging and swinging and swinging. And I don't think I stopped, seriously swinging for like 5 minutes. And I've somehow managed to end that encounter with the basilisk without getting cursed.
Wow.
I somehow made it out of that encounter without actually getting cursed. But yeah, they left a really big impression on me because those eyes really, really freaked me out. Because I just got startled with it when I swung the camera around. So yeah, the basilisks always give me pause, but man, there's nothing like that first encounter when you just drop down and they all just swarm on you.
All right, there you go, Steven. There's our impressions on your basilisk buddies. And Cameron, you're up next for the next to last question or prompt.
Yeah, so this one comes from Nick at Strenuous Orb on Twitter. And he wants to know about the Titanite Demon again, this time in Sen's Fortress. So we've already discussed kind of what the Titanite Demon is, but now it's Titanite Demons plural, because in Sen's Fortress, this lovely funhouse of traps and mimics, as we talked about a bit earlier, you can either fall, or if you're actually good at navigating, unlike me, kind of climb your way down to the very bottom of the fortress. And the entire thing is this sort of giant tar pit. The ground sort of sticks to your feet. You move a lot slower. Your rolls recover less quickly. And this place is filled to bursting with, or at least it feels like filled to bursting with Titanite demons. I think there's maybe 3 or 4.
There's 3, I believe.
Yeah, it feels like a lot.
Yeah, it's 2 more than you want.
Yeah, exactly. I myself, the one and only time I've been down there, I had the great misfortune to fall down there, but somehow bounce off a bit of geometry and survive. And then began the great chase of, God, what was it? 2013? Which was basically me running from sort of side room to side room as the Titanite Demon slowly sort of lumbered after me, shooting lightning and just making my day horrible in general. It's an interesting encounter. I don't know what it says about Sen's Fortress that they've just got 3 Titanite Demons locked in their basement. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, go ahead, Leonard. I'll follow up.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. It's mean. It's really mean what they do in that basement at Sen's Fortress with all that sticky floor and those 3 Titanite demons, which also have a much higher health pool than the one that you encounter at the entrance of Darkroot. And, oh, man, it's rough. And I don't think that any of the stuff down there is worth it, really. And unless you have the prisoner's chain ring? Is that?
Yeah, the rusted iron ring.
Yeah, that's the one that weighs you down
Yeah.
enough so it negates any of that slowing that the tar water does.
Right. You're like, yeah, you don't want to be down there unless you've got that equipped. Unless you're going down there specifically to kill some Titanite demons and get some upgrade materials, because it's a really rough encounter. I hate it. It almost feels like I would have preferred a pitfall. I'm not being serious about this, but I'd almost prefer a pitfall where I know that once I hit it, I'm just going to die, as opposed to like this kind of like hopeful scenario that maybe I can get out of there before I die. It feels cruel. It feels like they're holding a carrot of survival out in front of you, and I'm like, oh, I can almost do it. Oh no, he did his jump and he skewered me with his staff. I guess I might want to try getting my souls if I feel like it.
Yeah, I think personally, I only went down there. I didn't. I found it naturally through the level rather than falling into it. I had the Iron Ring and probably the Ring of Fog or the Slumbering Dragon Crest, something where I could just kind of make the run on purpose to farm for their item drops. But it's just that you get down there, you see the first guy, because you can see him right when you get in there, and you don't know that there's 2 other ones hiding around a corner, like these blind, dead end corners. So you go, oh, maybe I killed the one guy. You have that elation of defeating this tough enemy. If you're like lucky and didn't just run around first, aggroing all of them at once. But yeah, I just picked that one guy off and went around the corner. I'm like, oh no, there's another guy right there. And usually he hits me in the face with lightning, like first just out the gate. That's his move. And yeah, another one of those fights that it's not. And yeah, I guess it's just not really worth it unless you're going for upgrade materials, or you want to go visit the giant. I think you have to go through the stairs in the back.
Yeah, right. I think so.
But yeah, so that's our Titanite demon for you, Nick. Our last prompt came from our buddy Jake at Jake Lionheart. He requests that we discuss the Capra demon, so I'll give that a go. This again, I think, was one of those potential stopping points, I think, for a lot of people. Meeting the first Capra demon as a boss and potentially just bouncing off the game for the first time. I think I had a little bit of difficulty. It may have taken a few tries, but probably less than 5 to kind of take care of this guy. Really, it's the arena you're fighting, not the Capra demon, and the 2 dogs, I guess. Well, why are there dogs? Let's put a boss fight and put dogs in there. So yeah, I guess to set the stage, you go through the fog wall, and you're harried by 2 dogs, or if you're lucky, they got stuck behind a bush or something. And then you're sort of like a little alleyway, and there's a bit of stairs on the left that lead up to kind of there's a door, but you can't go through there, and it's a little platform. And our buddy the Capra demon is rolling around on the arena with his 2 huge machetes, kind of waiting to carve himself a piece up of you. You can kind of sort of beat him with plunging attacks if he doesn't change up his movement pattern. So I think I beat him. I took care of the dogs, ran up the stairs, and I tried to do rinse repeat of him kind of falling off the stairs, and I'd just jump onto him. But what usually ended up happening was I'd get to the platform maybe a little bit too soon. He'd run up the stairs and then just jump across and like land on me. And it's like kind of like one shot. So eventually I managed to get the plunging attacks to work, and he didn't make that jump, I think, once, so that finished him off. But yeah, apparently you can kind of cheese this boss from outside by throwing good old dung pies and poisoning him. Seems, I don't know, that seemed pretty cheap to me, so I didn't want to invest in a bunch of poo to hunt the boss. How about yourself, Leonard?
Yeah, so the Capra Demon was the first time that I almost bounced off of Dark Souls. It got to a point where it was 70% chance that I'd walk through that fog gate and die immediately. And then I finally managed to start getting a handful of runs where I was able to take out the dogs really, really quickly and just use the old run up the stairs, try to bait them into falling off, plunge down on them, and then hit them times and then run up the stairs. It's a big cartoony fight. Once you kind of lock the AI into a pattern. And yeah, that boss room is awful. Quite honestly, I don't know why anybody in Lower Undegberg cares that the Capra Demon's there, because he clearly can't get out of that room because it's tiny.
Yeah, let's just leave him alone, Let him do his thing.
He's
dogs.
he's a little lost. He's made some dog companions. I'm sure they're like touching coming of age story. Him being up there, he ran away from the bed of chaos because his mom didn't understand him.
Yeah, we'll make some headcanon for him.
But he really is a long way from home when you think about it. He'd have to come up through Demon Ruins, through Blighttown, through the depths, through most of the lower Undeadburg, and then just kind of lock himself away in there for no apparent reason.
Yeah, he was going on his adventure, guys. You know, he wanted to ring the first bell.
He was the chosen undead all along.
But
no, that was awful. Yeah. Screw that. No, terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do like later on when you just encounter Capra demons, again, plural, like in Demon Ruins and Lost Isolith kind of area.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that gives you that sense of progression. It's like, this thing was possibly one of the toughest things I did in the game, and now I'm killing 3 of them at a time because they're in my way. Kind of a sense of growing as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think by that point, 2 hits, maybe 3, like maybe 2 jumping attacks was enough to finish off the mob Capra demons. But yeah, no, I think that's really cool. I like when they do that. Not as much in the case with Pinwheel, but kind of making bosses those regular enemies, but they're to scale with where you've scaled up. You know, it's yeah, it's a good feeling. Even if at first sight, I was like, why are there 3 of them? You know, but it makes you realize how much those encounters and that enemies' attack patterns are reliant on the environment. The jumps basically put the Capra demons at a disadvantage because it's such a long animation that you can get in those hits or just counterattack at that point, versus how it is in the first the boss arena, where it makes that jump and you just don't want to be anywhere near it because there's no room to, you know, sidestep really.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, any parting thoughts on any of the guys we covered? I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job.
Agreed.
All right. Well, we're getting a little long on the tooth here, so we'll kind of bring the episode to a close. Leonard, it was great to have you on. We'll do more guests in the future, and again, extend some more invitations to you, scheduling permitted. Yeah. Where can folks find you on the internet?
Well, they can find me on YouTube by searching for Dr. Faust is Dead. And if you are on Twitter, you can find me at Dr. Faust is Dead, one word. And thank you guys for having me on. It was a lot of fun. I love talking about Dark Souls monsters, good and bad. And it was a real pleasure to be on.
Great. Tell us a little bit about your channel on YouTube.
Yes, I do. I'm currently in the middle of doing a lore play of Dark Souls 3, where I go, each episode is based around a specific area of Dark Souls 3, through its natural progression. I started in the Cemetery of Ash, Firelink Shrine. The last episode I released was based on the High Wall of Lothric. And it's just me examining and doing a bit of my own headcanon lore examination as I play through Dark Souls 3.
Well, great. I took a look at a few of the videos and saw some of your Bloodborne stuff. It's put together really well. You have a good narrative going on. So, yeah, listeners, give his stuff, check it out.
Yes, please do.
All right. And Cameron, where can we find you?
You can, as always, find me on Twitter at knight_twitten. That's knight without a K. I'm on there a lot. Feel free to chat. Love to talk with people.
Yeah, the community is pretty open to that, and same thing goes for me. I'm also on Twitter at Sentient_plus. I'll have the links in the show notes for everyone to kind of check out. And I think that wraps us up for this episode. And listeners will hopefully hear from you a little bit more next time.